is there any questions in the room? Because I see that we have 15 minutes left. So if anybody wants to wave, in case. Otherwise, we have plenty of material to go. But yeah, we have one here over there. Does anyone has a mic, please? Microphone? Anybody? Here's a microphone for the gentleman.
Hi, sorry, Nicolas Pieux again. Rather addressed to you, Jay. You said excitement, and you talked about deregulation to prolong the bull run. And you talked about financial deregulation. So I'm an investor, and I have to be very clear. What I'm hearing is a very nicely prepared way to the next major bubble burst in the years to come. Gov-like loans are higher than they've ever been before. They represent 90% of leveraged finance today. The non-banking sector has more importance than it has ever taken. The dry powder of private equity is $11 trillion today. So I do hear that, but as a European, or as I think anyone else, I would say, okay, and then when things fall out, there will be a mess. US will pick up because this is the strength of the US, and it will be, again, a land of rooms all over the world again, and the people who will pay the price are not the people who will cause the issue.
Well, that's a legitimate concern, I could say.
I could take it. We have a banker on our panel, so maybe I can defer first to you.
You know, the Bitcoin explosion, and we're going to rush into...
I'm not sure if I'm going to answer your question. I'd like to say a couple of things. I see the clock is turning, and we want to give an opportunity to people to ask questions. First of all, don't expect all the nominees to be confirmed. And don't expect Trump to push hard to get some of them confirmed. I'm prepared to discuss some of the individual situations. Some of the names that have been put forward for certain positions are controversial. Let's look at the positive side of this equation. People on the economic side are likely to be confirmed. We have, I don't know him personally, but the incoming Secretary of the Treasury, Scott Bessent, is someone that several of my close friends know well. He's an experienced person, he's a decent person. As you know, the post of Secretary of the Treasury took Trump a while to decide who appoint. This is a very reassuring nomination, in my opinion, and he will be confirmed. The other one is the incoming chairman of the SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission, Paul Atkins. I've known Paul Atkins for 25 years. He was a commissioner of the SEC. He was in charge of the transition team between the Obama administration and the Trump administration in 2016. He's somebody who's effectively much more prepared to adopt and support some of the initiatives that you make reference to, like cryptos and so on. We had an opportunity to discuss about this specific topic yesterday in the workshop chaired by Chairman Trichet. So those are things that are, in my opinion, reassuring.
So what you're saying is that those people are good people, they can manage, because
someone that
about
I know,
the next financial crisis
okay,
that you might be walking in.
Yeah, somebody whom I know very well also, he used to be my congressman for a number of years, is now nominated for the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, Lee Zeldin. He ran for governor of New York against Governor Hochul at the last election 2 years ago, and he came very close to win this nomination. As I said, since 2006, all governors in New York have been Democrats. This is, I would say, a moderate Republican. So we have, now, two words I would like to say, if I may, about immigration and tariff. And I may disagree to some extent with what has been said, to some extent only, by other participants in the panel. I don't believe that Trump expects to enforce tariffs. He had some tariffs during his first administration. Biden administration came and didn't change anything. It was as protectionist, so to speak, as the Trump administration. I make a difference between the tariff that he talks applying from the first day on European, on Canada, on Mexico, and so on. I think that's largely a negotiating tactic to bring people. You remember what happened? The next day, Trudeau was coming to see Trump in Florida, and Christine Lagarde said, instead of fighting, let's talk.
Well, yeah, that stirred a big debate in
So
Europe.
but China is different. I'm not saying at some point he's not trying to get a great bargain with China, but China, this is for the administration something that when Biden administration came to power, if you remember, there was a meeting in Alaska between the Chinese and the Americans. It was a disaster because the Americans start talking about human rights and a number of issues, Hong Kong, the Uyghurs, and so on. That's not going to happen with the Trump administration, but they're going to talk about very serious matters. So that's something I would, if you're concerned about the inflationary impact of rates, tariffs, and so on, I think there's a big difference that's going to be in terms of strategy. Remember, Trump never reads, but he wrote one book, not by himself, called The Art of the Deal. It's all about dealing, dealing, dealing. And he may want to make a big bargain at some point with China, but with the other country, it's purely a tactic to get them to work on, for example, the fentanyl. We have a number of people, young people who are killed in America by this drug, which is imported from other countries. He wants to block fentanyl. This is a national security issue. He will use every possible means to deal with that. Now, immigration, and I'll stop. Immigration, we've seen open doors for the last 4 years. One of the reasons why Kamala Harris lost the election is the fact that they didn't deal properly with the immigration problem. There are many dimensions in the immigration problem. I don't believe for 1 second that it's going to deport 11 million people. This is just not happen. It's infeasible. It would cost a fortune. Practically, they don't have the logistics to do it. They're talking of using, I mean, this is nonsense. It's not going to happen. But keep some numbers in mind. There are 40,000 people in America who've committed serious crime, who are illegal immigrants. These people are still in jail in America. They're going to be sent back to where they're coming from. There are 600,000 people who've committed some sort of offense other than breaking the immigration law. These people are also potentially in the process of being sent back home. Obama administration expelled a lot of people. Several 100,000 people were expelled by the Obama administration. Now, at the same time, Trump has said that he will regularize the problem of the dreamers. The dreamers are the people who were brought in by their illegal parents in America, but they lived in America all their life. They never lived anywhere else. He said clearly during the campaign that he will deal with the problem of the dreamers. He also said that he's prepared to give green card to graduate from good
Foreigners from good universities.
So this is somebody who's prepared, on one hand, to take some measures with the criminals, and at the same time also wants to stabilize. And I think there is a possibility. Marco Rubio, many years ago, when he was a young senator, was part of a commission of 8 people, 4 Republicans, 4 Democrats, who put together a plan for reforming the immigration system. So I think the immigration system, beyond the effect of, if you will, the meetings and so on, this is something that they want to deal with. And there is a chance. I'm not saying it's necessarily going to happen, but I would not be too concerned that we'll see millions of people being deported.
Just one point on this, if I may.
Do you have an answer on his question?
Very quickly,
eventually?
please remember that one of the first measures taken by the Trump administration in 2017 was the travel ban. And precisely Iraq was included on it. We managed to get off only because we agreed to take in people who were being deported because they'd committed crimes. So that's a serious issue, and I think it'll take what you said will happen.
There's a question over there.
Okay, there's a question in the back here. Thank you. And
Thank you very much for this conversation. Guillaume Calonico from CDPQ. It seems to me that Trump has a trilemma, an impossible trinity, because he wants tariff, he wants a weaker dollar, and he wants tax cut. So it seems to me that it's impossible to have the three together. What can he do, really, with these three things he wants to do in America in its second mandate?
So tariff taxing, I missed one word.
Tariff, tax cut, and a weaker dollars.
Weaker currency.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's complicated indeed, yes. Does anybody want to take, well, maybe Peter, because you're a big exporter, so.
Can I'll just make a,
And
oh,
Jay,
Peter,
and
do you
Jay,
wanna-
go ahead, Jay. and
Didn't mean
Peter
to interrupt
afterwards.
Peter, please.
Okay,
no.
yeah, I just start. Thanks for that question. Of course, this is of deep concern.
Currency, dollar.
So, as I said earlier, I think, I said, take him by his very own words. I expect this is all something that we need to take into consideration, that, this will all happen. And for us, especially with regard to tariffs, as a big exporting nation, I think I saw the numbers of, just for my country, like annually $15 billion or euros that would hit our exporting businesses. So it's quite something. Might be even more. So, there might be some truth in it that everything that, you hear now that's put in the window is just negotiation techniques. I hope so. Maybe to some extent, but certainly not completely. So I really think we should take it very, very seriously. It's not so, well, he will not really impose all these things and not, follow his own concepts. I think this will happen. And that's why I said earlier, if you want to, you were talking about, mitigating the risk, and I was talking about putting measures in place now while you still can, to have something in place, something, as a possible response if you come into the situation that you sit down at this negotiation table across the Atlantic now from my place in the world, and that you have something that you can put in the window as well. You may call it as a negotiation technique. So, and then take into consideration as well what you said, deregulation and also, weakening the dollar. I mean, he wants to make the United States not only great or greater or whatever again. I still think, by the way, the United States of America is a great nation. I love it, and they are super strong with regard to economy, with regard to culture, with regard to military. So this is a stupid motto anyway. But anyway, I didn't choose for this. He did. So, I think to some extent we have to also see that with regard to competition, in both sides of the Atlantic, in the United States of America, in Europe, the world has developed, has changed since Trump won, since Obama over the past, 20 years, 10 years, 5 years, something has happened. And every nation, every leader of any given nation, be it Germany, France, this country, or be it Washington, or the United States of America, needs to, if he or she wants to be a good and true leader serving in the interests of its own folks, needs to, try to make his own or her own country competitive. Geopolitics play a role. It's because of wars. It's because in the example of Germany, for example, we messed it up. We, increased naively our energy dependency, Nord Stream 2 and all these things. Donald Trump one was right. And many were sharing this view, except for Angela Merkel, for example, by that time. I think it was wrong. And I told her when I was her Transatlantic coordinator not to do anything about it. So, taking this all together, put this all together in a box, make wise decisions, but be prepared and not step forward alone. Try to build new alliances, and then this is how this world works.
Thank you. Jay, you want to answer back?
Sure,
and then
I'll
we'll
answer
take
the,
one more
the question and also maybe make a point to Nicolas in response to
thank
his
you.
question.
Yeah.
Just with a little inside baseball, as we say in America, Scott Bessent, Howard Lutnick, they're both coming out of the asset management sector. They are in segments of asset management that are high risk taking, and they've made their fortunes with high risk, high reward bets. And so, Nicolas, they are under the assumption that allowing for that segment of the capital markets to continue to function is in the best interest, not only of firms like theirs, but of the entire economy. And they were facing almost the exact opposite scenario had Harris won. And so they are going to ensure that that gets locked in and that private capital as well continues to be able to function relatively freely. Now, the inside baseball is that Lutnick, as the head of commerce, if he's confirmed, will have oversight of tariff policy, which traditionally has been the purview of the trade representative. But the trade representative actually is going to be folded in, at least according to what's been announced publicly, under commerce. And right now, it looks like the play on tariffs is going to be much more around commerce-related topics than tariffs simply for trade protection reasons. And why? Well, it's going to be centered around industrial espionage, preventing the theft of intellectual property, ensuring that from a national security perspective, CFIUS gets strengthened. That's the Committee for Foreign Investment in the United States. And that critical technologies such as chips, as was discussed by many panels, continues to be controlled, at least as is possible. So I think about tariffs, yes, from a negotiating tactic, but specifically to advance specific Commerce Department objectives that Lutnick will have on his agenda, which the president, by the way, will care about, but when it gets technical, he'll allow Commerce to take the lead on.
Okay. I think we have just time for one last question. Thank you.
Last week at Notre Dame in Paris, the most looked at American wasn't Donald Trump, it was Elon Musk. What would you think will be Elon Musk doing in the months or years to come? Will it be the real éminence grise, as we say in French, or mere Rigoletto? And you know how it ended for Rigoletto.
Thank you so much for this last question. It's perfect. Jean-Claude, do you want to answer?
Elon Musk was probably the largest financial contributor to the presidential campaign of Donald Trump. He spent like $100 million to a PAC, Political Action Committee, and he was particularly instrumental. Somebody whom I know very well works for him and works particularly in Pennsylvania. As you know, Pennsylvania was a very critical state in this election. So Elon Musk is a Democrat. Until a year ago, he was a Democrat. By the way, look at, some people are making jokes, some of my friends in the US are making jokes. I said, why are you complaining about Trump being elected? He's surrounded by a Kennedy, he's surrounded by Elon Musk, he's surrounded by Tulsi Gabbard, and so on and so forth. He's surrounded by Democrats. So, I mean, more seriously, Elon Musk will be there for a period of time. He has to manage huge conflict of interest between his own personal interests and what is being expected to do is with the dodgy that you were making reference to. So over time, I would not bet too very long, but he will be there for a period of time with Vivek Ramaswamy. Are they going to be able to achieve something? There is a need to do something about government efficiency. Everybody agrees on that. It goes well beyond the Republican Party, by the way. Independent and Democrats feel the same way. So he's there for a period of time. He's made a major contribution. How long is he going to be there for? You know, ultimately, he will take care of his own interest.
Okay, so I guess we still have a lot of question marks, but thank you very much all for your attention, and we're going to break it here because our time is up. Thank you, and thank you all for being here today.